Warning, you are going to hear truths and reality today about human trafficking. Slavery, it is happening in the United States and all around the globe. It's a national security threat. Everyone must open their eyes and understand the escalating exploitation happening right in front of our eyes. It is such an honor to have Bella Hounakey join the Warriors today. She is a leader, a strong advocate of anti trafficking initiatives, and a voice for victims. Bella engages, educates, and empowers others. I had the pleasure of seeing Bella speak at the White House in the East Room. I remember it so fondly about human trafficking at the summit in 2020. And here we are today. And Bella, I feel very honored that you're joining me. I truly do. So I'm starting to tear up a little bit. So let me control myself. But let's talk about Bella. Bella currently works for the United States Department of Health and Human Services. And prior to HHS, Bella was an asylum officer with the Department of Homeland Security. And Bella is so much more, and we're going to discuss whatever she wants to discuss today, but how she is shaking up the landscape around exploitation. She is out there. She is a leader for all. She consults, she speaks, but again, I have to go back. She is a strong advocate doing such great work. Bella says, every day I remind myself that strength and resilience lie in the depth of my vulnerability. I am not just healing myself by finding social justice. I am freeing other people. I am an abolitionist. The website is Bella Hounakey. I'm going to spell this for you, everybody. Hounekay. But I'm going to have everything in the body of the video. So everybody relax right now because all of Bella's information will be there. You're going to take your time. You're going to read. You're going to call her, email her. You're going to do everything. So let's get to Bella. Bella, welcome to the Warriors.
Thank you. Thank you, Warriors. Thank you, Lynn, for having me.
I am so excited, especially as we're kicking off, as we say, the holiday weekend here in New York. I am just thrilled that you're joining us. You know, Bella, it is your story to tell. Where would you like to start? There is so much, but I want you to start somewhere.
Thank you, first of all, for having me.
I know it's a loaded question. Oh, of course, of course.
I appreciate it. I remember, 5 years ago seems so long, but also sure. So thanks for having me. Where do I start? I want to talk about co-regulation. And then please feel free to have follow-up questions for me. I'm just going to have a conversation with you. Is that okay? Those people watching today, right? Some people might have experienced some form of trauma. They might have experienced different traumas in their life, but I think human trafficking hit differently because for victims, they experience chronic trauma, complex trauma. They experience disempowerment, and it really creates this disruption of safe relationship and safe people. Because if we unravel it, exploitation go back to someone that you might trust using their access to you to exploit you. So what I really want to focus today that we often don't talk about in trafficking movement is this idea of co-regulation. So I'm going to need people to slowly follow me. If you don't understand something, Lynn, please clarify, and so then I can speak more on it.
Before you start, I've never heard anybody use the word co-regulation. I'm telling you, I'm not proud to say I've never heard of it, but I've never heard anybody saying that. So please, the floor is yours. Please.
Yeah. I want to say co-regulation at its core. And this is because I am a trained social worker. I'm a trained clinician. That's what I went to school for. Co-regulation at its core is biological, right? It's a function under this umbrella of rational process. So you, me, Lynn, and people in your family, we all learn to regulate our emotions by connecting with people. So that could be our parents. But when you've experienced human trafficking, there's a tendency to feel like you're betrayed by people you feel like you trusted the most. And so that leave a trace of pain in your body. And also because trafficking has a component of manipulation and control, it sort of distorts your perception of reality and perception of self. It's like, how did I let myself get to this way, right? And the isolation on top of that, sort of causes you to not really trust anybody. You just don't feel safe in your personhood. And I'm going to give you examples later, but essentially, the way that exploitation, you work with survivors, so you've known this. The way that exploitation causes your body to sort of, it rewires your nervous system, your regulating system, it rewires it. So you have this sense of dysregulation. You're constantly, and some people call it the fight, flight, flee, freeze. You
Yes.
have that constant fight, flight, freeze feeling. So when people are posts, you know that you see on the news or somewhere that somebody has been trafficked, you know that they received the help they need. There's this third aspect of it, of assimilation. What I mean by that is people are trying to move on with their lives, right? That's what people say often. This happened, move on. But people can move on because there's been an injury to their system. There's been an injury to their personhood that they work every single day. Today, I was meeting with a few survivors. These people are professionals in their field, meaning you wouldn't know they're survivors unless they identify. But we create this closed network because we have to sort of rely on each other because we know what we're feeling, but we just can't describe it to ourselves. And something that we platform in that meeting is this ability to co-regulate. How did you notice that you weren't able to co-regulate this week? Because that impacts who they are as professional, as doctors. Some of them are doctors. They have to care for other people. But when their body reminds them of the past exploitation, they're no longer professionals in that moment. They're no longer doctors or lawyers or clinicians. They're people whose brain is recalling, take a snapshot of being exploited and they save that. And you have to sort of strip that away every single day of your life. Does that paint a picture, Lynn?
Yes, but it makes me feel like that is so, must be so exhausting
Mm-hmm.
for somebody to constantly they get a snapshot
Mm-hmm.
or something reminds them of something. It must be just a constant daily like mental exhaustion thinking
Mm-hmm.
about all this and dealing with all this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Um, and I think the stigma that comes with it, right? So if you take somebody who has been labor exploited, so somebody used them for labor, and so there's a different set of a trauma that comes from that, but it's a stigma that comes with it, right? The stigma that your body is only as good for this, right? Not anything else, or um, you are only going to amount to this. And if you're told that, and I think that's the thing, right? Abuse thrive in isolation. And so when people are isolated and exploited in silence for so long, it takes years to undo that process. And that stigma of if your trafficker is telling you your body's only as good as I deem it to be, and they've done that from 9 to 18 or
Mm.
year 9 to 25, your brain sort of rewire itself around that. And so even if you go back to community, you might see people trying really hard to assimilate, but it's like a war inside of your head that you can't talk about because if you do, then you're labeled crazy or mental or psychotic, but you'll be completely normal. So it's like a pain you can't describe to anyone. And many survivors that I know, they sort of find their resilience in silence because they can't speak about it. Because if they do, somebody might say, "Oh, but I didn't think Bella was crazy. I didn't think Lynn was. I thought she was moved on with her life." Does that paint a picture, Lynn?
Yeah, it does paint a picture. And it reminds me, a lot of people will say to me, Bella, oh, why don't they run away? you know, run. I don't, I'd run away if that was me. Everybody's so brave, right? And they do not understand what I think you're describing as just this psychological like beating down. As you pointed out, if somebody's telling you you're only as good as this for years and years, and you become isolated and dependent on that person, you're really going to start believing you're only as good as that, and you're gonna I guess you're gonna become depressed on top of everything. You're just going to do whatever it is you're gonna do, or you're just gonna remain silent and
Mm-hmm.
not do anything. I don't, Bella, I really don't think, here's the disconnect. I'm jumping around a little bit, but I
That's
don't
okay.
think, okay, so you and me know a lot of things. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people we deal with know a lot of things. my goal at the Warriors is to get information and like resources, solutions out into the public, or at least open up so they can start thinking about things or know like indicators or how they can help somebody. But here's what I notice.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants help after the fact, right? Like we're not getting in there to intervene. We're
Mm-hmm.
not, people also think that, and again, I'm jumping around a little bit. People think, okay, you get somebody out of a trafficking situation. You're here in New York as an example. Okay, it's done. We saved them. I never use the word saved because saved is not a word I ever use because I work with survivors. It's an ongoing process for the rest of their lives. It's okay. Rescue. I don't use the word rescue. I
Mm-hmm.
So people don't understand. It doesn't just stop and end. We need continual care, safe
Mm-hmm.
space.
Mm-hmm.
People need help. So even though you're
Mm-hmm.
describing you're very successful, you were dealing with a group, doctors, lawyers, and all that. It's this psychological kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing that people aren't addressing. But Bella, what do we do with the public? How, like, what should we do with them
Yeah,
with
I
this? Like,
think
I don't know. I don't know is not an answer I like,
I
Bella. I
think
shouldn't say I don't know.
no, it's because I think it begs a question of, if people are wondering why don't you just run away? Why don't victims of trafficking just run away? I think we need to reshift our language from why don't they run away to how can we make running feel more safer and possible. So instead of why don't you just run away if this is happening to you, why don't we shift our language to how can we make running away feel safe and possible? Because if you run away, Lynn, if you were to leave your house right now, you would know where to go. But if you don't know where to go, what if you're worried that your trafficker might find you? What if you have no money or safe place to go? What if you are addicted to something because they made you addicted to something, or you're pregnant, or you have children caught in
Right.
some trap? So every single reason they have for not running away is matched with 1,000 reasons that they can't. If they have children, they can't run away with their children. So that leaves the option. If they run away, their trafficker might find them. So instead of why don't you run away, why don't we reshift your language to, okay, as society, how can we make running away feel more possible and safe? Because if the issue is that every reason to run is matched with 1,000 reasons not to, but if we create more reasons to run away, people don't have to worry about that because they know that there's support out there should they run away. But when you've gone through abuse, it changes your brain chemistry literally because you've been deprived, you've been lied to, you've been made to feel unworthy, you've been made to feel fear. And Lynn, I tell people this all the time. If somebody put you in isolation where they take away your food, your ability to live as a person, you will believe anything they tell you. It takes very little time. Every
Yes.
single person who is isolated and endure what people who have gone through trafficking endure, you will believe almost anything.
Right.
Because at your what they do is they take your whatever is in your existence that makes you human, they strip that away from you little by little. So you become a shell of your former self. You don't even remember who you were before. It doesn't matter what family you come from, it doesn't matter what race you are, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status. What they do is that they take away piece by piece who you used to be, and they rebuild you in the image that they want you to be because you see them almost as a god.
Mm. Yeah, and just to go back, my answer would always be to people, where is a woman with a baby running to? Or
Hmm.
where is a woman who's addicted to drugs running to? Which brings us to the questions of, we need more safe spaces.
Hmm.
If we had a lot more housing or safe spaces that people knew about,
Hmm.
even in that psychological kind of thinking, hard to get somebody to leave.
Hmm.
But that opens up that whole thing about resources in the United States, because the number one thing I'm always hearing is we don't have enough safe spaces. We don't have enough places. We don't have enough beds. We don't have this. We don't have that.
Hmm.
That's what I want to change. Not that we should even want to have safe houses and safe spaces. But the
Mhm.
reality is, Bella, like this is what we're dealing with right now, right? We have all of these people. What are we going to do with them? It's not good
Right.
enough to say we don't have the beds. I know here in New York, they're very much another thing we're working on. They're very much invested in domestic violence,
Mm.
resources, housing. Now, wait till I tell you this one. So I was recently at a housing summit in Brooklyn, and the mayor's office was there. I couldn't believe it. I had to go back and ask people when it was done, the presentation, because I thought I heard it wrong. In the whole state of New York, which is a big state, there are 15 beds designated for human trafficking victims. Everything's put into, and what we're trying to do is have it separated out. Don't be lumping anything, because they take care of domestic violence victims first and then tack on. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was just about 6 weeks ago. We need a separate division. We do
Mhm.
understand, right, Bella, that domestic violence pretty much intersects with a lot of the
Mhm.
trafficking. But I couldn't believe it, Bella. 15 beds designated in the
Mhm.
entire state. So right there, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. It's just unbelievable.
This came up too a lot. I think I've been in this movement for a bit, and I think this comes up a lot where even in programming, right, a lot of the fundamental ways that anti-trafficking programmings are set up, it mirrors domestic violence, right? And I think if we're assuming that domestic violence movement are more set, right, they've been around since the 70s, right? And so they have momentum. They've had time to build momentum. But it's not either or,
Right.
right? It's not either or. It's not a competition. It's not a hierarchy of victimization. Like your domestic violence here, your human trafficking here, one is better than the other, right? And so in my mind, I think, okay, so domestic violence programming has been around since 1970s. They have built momentum. They have coalitions in different states. They get federal and local funding. They are creative about, cycles of abuse. There's a lot of research and studies around that. So they're more established, right? But I think with trafficking, there's always, you know, agencies or nonprofits are always fighting for visibility. It's almost like you're trying to get established. You're trying
Yeah.
to sell the idea that
Yes.
it's fighting for visibility, which we shouldn't be in the position of fighting for visibility because we're all working to get to a goal of we don't want exploitation happening. We don't want abuse happening. So how can we make sure that we're on the same page and not unintentionally create this systemic way of competition for funding?
Yes. Because what I see, in my opinion,
Hmm.
so there are so many good people really trying and doing good work, right? As individuals, groups, nonprofits. Um, but then again, I also see a lot of the people, they're not getting paid. It's volunteer kind of, or they have a full-time job and they're trying to do this on the side or something like that. So I'm not understanding why the thinking, and everybody's fighting for dollars all the time. That goes without saying all the time, right? Why, in your opinion, Bella, and I'm very serious about this, why can't more groups come together to collaborate? I find people very much want to stay in their little box,
Mm,
and I'm always pretty much trying to share and reach out and you know I'm not understanding, because right now this exploitation, I don't have to tell you anything. It's escalating, it's exploding, it's making so much money for criminals and predators and all that. We
mhm,
must do something different, because I don't think what we have is working at all. So we need to start from scratch. I'm not kidding about this, and create new ways to get out in front of this, because these predators, these criminals, they're always 10 steps ahead. They just are. And the truth is law really lags behind technology. So, that's another thing. I want people to really, if you're saying you're going to work with trafficking, with exploitation, you really need to work with it and come together with groups as a whole, and also have correct education, right, about
mhm,
it. Like I'm not a survivor. So
Mhm.
I don't go out. I see some people, Bella, like they go out and talk about the survivors, but they're not a survivor. And I think, what are they doing? That's you you've got to have that voice that can help explain or resonate with the public should that person want to do that and speak out, kind of thing. What is
Mhm.
this other person doing? I don't know. So I don't know if
Mhm.
you have some thoughts on that, but I'm not
Well,
understanding
I feel like you
any of
have to
this.
I feel like you have to bring me back for this one because it's so nuanced, right? It's so nuanced. You mentioned that they're going for the same pot of money. So that creates competition, right? But I think one of the things that I see, this is something that is not often talked about in anti-trafficking movement. It's something that is a silent struggle that you see in almost any social justice field, including trafficking. Not Yes, we all know that there is the money aspect of it, but one thing I also see silently as somebody who have been trafficked and somebody who works within trafficking organizations and federal government is this idea of they too live in survival mode without even recognizing it. These organizations, these nonprofits, not to speak bad or my goal here isn't to be ill intent, but it's to highlight a real struggle, which is that what I see is that they live in what I call a survival mode as well, meaning that their reputation might mean their survival. If they're the best in the news coverage, they win the awards, they get the government attention, they get the private donations attention. And so they want to sell this idea of our model work. Our model work when it comes to like wraparound services, our model work when it comes to labor trafficking victims, our model work when it comes to like servicing kids who are in domestic versus international. So that mindset of my way works give them reputation, which means that they're going to survive as the number one agency. That itself is psychological warfare, right? It's if it's the attention becomes about the organization's survivorship instead of the people they are intending to serve. If the
Yes.
organization spent a lot of time just trying to make sure that they are winning the news, that's why I really appreciate it. I did a lot of research about you too, Lynn. I research everybody I talk to,
Well, you
and
don't
I
find everything online, Bella, about me because I on
but
purpose don't
but
put
I
too much, but
but
I'm
I spoke
grassroots, Bella. I'm grassroots.
I spoke to people who know you and they vouch for you and they're like, this person is a person of integrity.
Mm,
She speaks her mind and she does the talk and walk the walk.
thank you.
And I appreciate that because you're not functioning on the mindset of your reputation is your survival. You're doing this because you want to do it. You're not doing it for media coverage, the awards, the government attention. You're not out here saying my model works, right? These are the theme that you see, right? And if you're outside of that system, it looks like there is a oneness to it, that we're all on one page. There's this cohesiveness to it. But if you're in it, you can see how detrimental that is to progress because that leads to informational withholding, not sharing information that could help us eradicate this, where we talk about how this crime is not measurable, is very hidden, is very sudden. Well, every time somebody is experiencing domestic violence, they might or may not call law enforcement, right? So there's a lot of visibility and cross agency collaboration when it comes to domestic violence. But in human trafficking, because there's a scarcity mindset with money, there's then they tend to withhold information. Some of them may not refer survivors out, and so they're doing everything to keep everything in house because again, reputation is survival. If I'm the best at it, then I get to get the big money. Therefore, I survive. It's no different. The only difference is that we are called survivors and they're called organization. But it could be different mission, different politics, different approaches, but it is what it is. If your reputation equals your survival, you're in survival mode too, right? You're dysregulating, you're not co regulating your organization.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to say after that because I just feel like if you're going to say you're an organization and you're going to work in this and you're going to help, people, survivors, and you really have to do the work. Like I'm gonna let that go because I'm gonna let that go because it's about victims. It's about survivors. None of this is about me. None of this. I mean, I guess I'm lucky. I can be this way, Bella. Do you know what I mean? I guess I'm not dependent on a lot of things. We go into schools. I do all that for free, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, just to talk about digital safety with the kids, get on their level, talk to their parents, and do little webinars, just trying to educate and raise the aware, really like the community, get into the community, and just to swing back. What people tell me constantly. First of all, there's not a one size fits all,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't believe there's a one size fits all. Uh, my most proud moments at the Warriors, nobody will ever see, is when I put my arms around a woman, and she tells me, "Oh, I didn't think somebody like you would look at me." Does that make sense to you? Like, I give them a lot of compassion, talk to them. If they have kids, make sure things are taken care of or check up on them. And that hurts me so, when there's so many people working in this, and I'm, well, where is everybody else? I'm the only one doing this I know about here in New York. I'm talking about right now. I don't know if this is making any sense to you. You have to be passionate about this subject. You have to have compassion, and you really have to open your heart. And people have to figure out that with the money thing, because another thing, and I'll bring it up and then we'll move on, is I see a lot of organizations and they have really like, I'm all for everybody has to make money. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But then I see these fancy offices and I go to, and I see big staffs, and then every survivor I know and those who are sharing are brave enough. Like, where is our survivor pot of gold? Like, we should be paying people that we do. We should be helping them. And they constantly tell me, well, they helped me a little bit, but now like I'm kind of on my own. And we know, Bella, if you're vulnerable, you slip back into things that are not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, so I'm not understanding. I talk about it a lot. It's not met with, a friendly smile or anything. What are we doing for the survivors? Are we going to have an organization for them where they're paid a decent wage where they can live, kind of thing? You know, and when people say to me, well, the women should make candles, I'm like, how much money do you make from candles? Like, we need programs, kind of thing. But that leads me into what do you want to talk? Do you want to talk at all about the government or no? I really want our survivors empowered. Like, so you were part of the council, the president's council. I'm curious about that. Like, what happened there? How can we create a real way financially to strengthen people? Because that's the number one thing I'm hearing. Like, I'm not making the money. I can't make the money. Then they become depressed again. Then they become isolated again. Many times they go back into trafficking again. That's all they know. And they figure I'm not good enough for anything else. I can't do it. What are we going
And
to do right now? I mean, it's 2025. What are we going to do?
I like your questions because they're not typical DC, right?
Oh,
Um, I love that. I love that. It's not like filter and like we have 17 different version of it. And it's not all about, I love the transparency because I think people need transparency.
yes.
Um, One thing I want to say before I answer that, I do want to say that funders, be it foundations, be it companies, they need to stop incentivizing isolation, right? They reward isolation. So they reward those agencies, those nonprofits that they work in isolation so that they can say, you know what, I'm the best at it. They need to stop rewarding that and incentivize people who collaborate.
Yeah.
In their application, when they give money to organizations, they need to see, hey, to what extent did you collaborate with this anti-trafficking organization this year?
Yes.
Let's
That's what I'm talking
incentivize you
about.
for collaborate.
That's what I'm talking
Let's
about.
not reward isolation. Let's not say that you did this all by yourself because the survivors that suffer, survivors that, they get incomplete care, they fall through the gaps, they go back to life that they know. Because if you don't have any skill and you need a job, and organizations have everything they need to teach you that, but they keep it in-house, you're not going to get the support you need. But they're going to get rewarded because they're going to create a long report that no one is going to read, and then they're going to say this is how great we did, so then they get the money. And so I think founders need to stop incentivizing isolation and reward collaboration. Did you work with land warriors this year as an organization? If you do, maybe you get points for that. So that's what I wanted to really say about that. In regards to, I think what you're talking about is financial empowerment. And
Yes.
financial literacy starts there. Lynn, there's this group called the Innocent Story. It's another survivor who was also on the council with me, who started this organization, and her whole goal is financial literacy. She bring in tax expert to teach the survivors how to report their taxes from their speaking engagement. They teach them how to understand banking and budgeting and credit. If you were trained to sell your body, and I'm going to be very candid, if I may. If you are 16 and you were trafficked and you get $200 a day, whatever your traffickers share that with you, labor or sex, you don't know. Our country is built on structure like tax and credit and banking and all of that. If you knew to keep your money under the blanket or keep it in your hair so they don't steal it, you just know how to hustle. But when you come in the real world, part of assimilation is knowing that okay, you have to keep your money in the bank. You don't trust the bank, but you got to keep your money in there. So there's a psychological sort of education that you need to provide on functions like money. Like, what is money like that is not kept under your bra or under your armpit, right? Like, that's something basic people don't think about, right? And so that also includes job training, right? And so if you don't know how to get job, because what happens is when survivors work for organizations and they give them a gift card, they give them
Yeah.
$100, all of that, what is that going to do? All those
Mhm.
people you see that the nonprofit, it's gonna sound like I'm talking badly about people in nonprofit, but I'm not. I'm having a very candid conversation.
Yes, we're
If you
being real. We're being real. We're being real, Bella. These are real things we're talking about.
If you're operating in a nonprofit, you're getting a tax cut, you're getting a tax credit, you're not paying taxes depending on what you do. If you're a faith-based nonprofit, you're not getting tax cut. So you're getting the good money, you're getting raises. I know many nonprofit leaders that get good money, they're directors, they're whatever, they get good money, but then they allow I don't know how they can confront their conscience at night giving a survivor $100. What is that going to do in today's economy?
Mm.
So when we talk about financial empowerment, means that people are thinking, you know what, let me provide financial literacy for survivor, let me offer them job training. I sit on the board of an organization called a Nomi Network, and they're in Dallas, Cambodia, and India. And the reason why I sit on that board, and I have been for many years, their basic motto is that we're going to teach you as a survivor how to get a job, so you're not depending on any system.
Good.
You have a skill set. And so
I love that.
that's it. It is, if you want to care about survivors long term, you teach them financial literacy and you teach them a skill to be able to survive on their own.
Yeah.
And it
I
could be
yeah.
cleaning houses. It could be childcare, it could be transportation, so that they can live without constant crisis. Because if you live in constant crisis,
Yes.
you're not able to co-regulate. You can't regulate because you're worrying about what you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, if you're going to pay medical bills. All of that prevent you from just living.
Mm, yes, and you're not able to move ahead at all. You're just so busy surviving,
Mhm.
right? We have to do better, Bella. What do you can you share anything that's in the works, in the pipes, going on? Because I'm going full steam ahead, right up to that White House with my suggestions. And actually, but our work at the Warriors is really about survivor empowerment, getting them on their feet to self-sustain. Like that's I want companies that are going to partner up and take people on and help train them and give them entry level jobs, like to get them to have a schedule, to get them to be recognized, to give them dignity, like that
Lynn,
kind of thing.
Lynn, the only thing I'll say, the survivors with the Presidential Council, all of those people are, um, they are appointed by this whatever, either the sitting president or the former president, to speak to government leaders on what they can do to help trafficking survivors. It's a really honorable thing to do to serve our country in that way. It was an honorable thing for me to serve my country in that way, and I'm forever grateful and proud of it. Um, if there's anything I think that is absent, because I don't think that the government or NGOs or private foundations instead, I don't think they're unaware of what's going on. I think one of the things that are absent from the conversation is this incentivizing um, isolation by giving more money to people who haven't collaborated with other traffic organizations or people that they deem experts. They use the big names to get the big money and they get incentivized for that. But really, we need to collaborate because we can't keep spending money to eradicate trafficking if we're not working together. We're not working together with law enforcement. We're not working together with housing leaders. We're not working together with community leaders. We're sort of in our silos, right? And so we focus on bigger coalitions, like bigger political power. But we really need to work together. And that only happens when somebody at the top ask people, we are no longer going to incentivize. We're not going to reward you for isolation. We're going to incentivize collaboration. If this is going to happen, it's not going to take one big person. It's going to take all of us together. Lynn's warriors, it's going to take you. It's going to take you going back to your anti-trafficking organizations in New York or wherever you are to say, to what extent have you worked with someone else in your community to go at this issue? Not I'm tired of hearing how great you are by yourself. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. How great are you with other people? Talk to Lynn's warriors. How great are you? It's almost always, I've collaborated big, there's no unifying messaging. So I guess the only thing I would ask Lynn for this conversation to continue, wherever you all are, is to say to organization funders, really, stop rewarding isolation and ask human trafficking organizations to collaborate and figure it out. You have enough money,
Yes.
and stop saying that there's no money. You have money. Figure it out how you can pull your brain power together and come together, collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking my language. And despite economy, what everybody wants to talk about, there's plenty of money floating around. There's plenty of money floating around. Okay. That's another story. But people are not sharing. So you're speaking everything I speak about. Um, Finish us up. What if we have some parents right now listening? Do you want to address them at all? Or how about some, let's say young people, young women, teens, and we have all ages on the warriors that listen. We have grandmas, we have teens kind of thing. We want to bring truth and reality. That's why I always start with warning. I like, if we don't speak truth and reality, like what good is all of this? That's why I'm like, we got to talk about it, right? Because people
Mhm.
say to me, Bella, like, don't scare people. I'm like, scare people. This is a reality in America. We got to talk about it. Like, so I'm not scaring people. This is going on. Do you know what your child's doing on their phone? Right? Because everything's happening there, right in their own bedroom or in their hand. Um, what would you say? Let's talk about young people right now, like teenagers or something, college age. What do you want them to know?
Um, for all the teens listening, I think one of the things that I want them to know is that they can trust their instincts. If somebody, remember all the stories your parents taught you about bad people. If somebody listen to your body, if somebody is saying something to you and it doesn't feel right, and you feel like no one will believe you if you tell them, still share with someone. And I really want to say that traffickers, they work best in isolation. If you and the mom and dad are divorcing, you have problem with your siblings, you feel like no one is around you, they want your attention because they think you're alone. They think you're lonely. They think you're isolated. So they are going to try to be your best friend. They're going to make it fun. Bad adults, they're going to be the cool adults. But listen to all the stories that your parents, your grandparents, your friend's mom, whoever adult in your life that's telling you that some adults are bad and those adults are trying to get you on their good side. Listen to that and I trust you to trust your judgment. I trust you to say, this person doesn't feel right. This person is a stranger. Why do they care about me so much as a stranger? If this person is trying to buy your trust too fast, they want to say, I'll protect you. You don't have to be with them. You could trust me. Those are red flags. Meaning that
Mhm.
those should tell you that person doesn't have your best interests at heart. So that's what I want to share is, if there's somebody in your life right now, think about anybody. It can be people in your family. Think about whoever in your life right now that's doing something that they don't want other adults to find out.
Yeah.
Then talk to other people about that. Trust yourself, trust your body, because your body will tell you. I go back to my young self, my 12-year-old self. And that's something that I wish I would have remembered, is that that wasn't normal, because that would have saved me a lot of pain. So you have intuition, you have a guide, you have an internal guide. Listen to that. It's right. And if the adult is forcing you to trust them too fast, too soon, something is up with that. Tell somebody.
Yeah. Bella, I think that's very seriously, that's the number one thing that I tell kids when I go into sixth, seventh, eighth grades, just to talk to the kids about everything. Why are they giving you these things? Why are they telling you they love you? You just met them. Why? I think you're explaining the same thing. Trust your gut, as I like to say. What it's
Mhm.
telling you, that's not correct. But Bella, that brings up a problem of, the internet today, because people give away so much of their personal information, kids and adults, and within hours, they've given to a stranger. I had a fight with my mother. They know the siblings' names, they know where they live, they know what school. We're giving away. And that's where they move into these criminals, when there's a problem, as you pointed out. So we have to, I guess it really comes down to, Bella, got to keep talking to everybody about these issues, got to keep raising the red flag, have to keep saying, do not trust strangers, I think is what we have to really do. Because I don't know any other way to really, stem this kind of thing except talk like that. Like,
Yeah.
why you're 15 years old? Why is this? He says he's 21, which is weird anyway, but he could be 51. You don't know online. Why are you saying, I hate my father, and giving away? And the answers I usually get are, oh, my parents don't understand me. My parents don't give me attention. I don't know. They don't, it's not their fault. Kids have been born in this digital internet bubble, but we have to undo that and tell them, do not trust, do not give the information away. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think because of, teenagers now, fear of missing out. If you don't share, it's abnormal to not share everything with people online, right? It's abnormal to not share everything online to a complete stranger. And we have to sort of
Yeah.
change that, right? And I would say, for those parents listening, tell your kids it's okay. They might not listen, but tell them it's okay. Show them teenagers that don't share everything online. Or maybe share with them how you can still share aspect of yourself online, just not everything, right? And so it's hard, because teen development, they just don't think like adults do. So they feel like if they share more, they're going to get validation from their friends and they're going to be popular, all of that. But I will say to you, it's not just their friends and families working. The reason why traffickers are so successful is because they talk to each other, they learn from each other. They're always 10 steps ahead of the game, because they work like a family group. They need to protect their criminal enterprise, and as long as they get the rest of us distracted, they can thrive in their business. It's a business for them. But children, parents, they're not business for us. This is our people. This is our neighbor. This is our cousin. This is our family members. So this is real for us. And for them, this is just money and power and control. And so I think what we need is telling kids, because I think young people really struggle with adults saying no, but not replacing it with something else,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Don't share everything online, but what can they share online? Give them a guide of what they can share.
Guardrails. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
Interesting. And I just throw in, not to add humor to anything. I mean, adults are sharing like crazy online too. I mean, if I have to look at one more contemporary sharing, here's what I had for dinner. I don't know, Bella. I just don't know. you know,
Lynn, why
um,
do we do that? Why do we do that?
well, you and me don't do it, but because it's validation. They just want clicks and likes. That's what everybody, and we know from studies that truly there are internet addictions. It is an addiction. Kids swiping all night and falling asleep in the classroom because they're on to the next, affecting attention span because you could just go on to the next if you don't like anything. There's no calming down, there's no critical analysis, thinking about things, working out a problem. Just go to the next, keep going. And we have plenty of studies about all of that, which leads to mental
Depression.
health, depression, even more isolation. So the only thing I can think of, Bella, is that we've got to get in there from the time a child is born, age
Mhm.
appropriate as they're developing, and just start talking to them open and honestly and sharing. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about. This is the way of the world today. Be the leader. Don't let a stranger online be the leader or a stranger
Right,
in public be the leader. But I
right.
also think, and this is a tough one, Bella, to finish up with, as this is very tough. I'm trying with it though. We all have to look out for other children, right? Like I live in New York City by the Port Authority bus terminal, not far away. I now, Bella, when I walk by, can say that guy's waiting for somebody in the corner over there. Because kids will come out wearing backpacks, runaways, and stuff like that. I'm now at a point where I can see somebody lurking outside a Covenant House or something. I'm like, they're waiting. So we have to be eyes and ears. I truly believe in the communities. If you see something, report it or say something. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Because people will say, I'm afraid I'm going to get in trouble. How do we as a society look out for our neighbor? It's a big one because people don't like to get involved. But I've had too many people, Bella, say to me, you know what? I should have said something that was 10 years ago. I know it. I didn't do anything.
Mhm,
I don't know how we open that one up because people are in fear of getting involved.
mhm.
But we have to be
Yeah.
on the lookout for our precious kids. I mean, kids deserve, especially the kids, a safe
Mhm,
childhood. I know kids have to run away sometimes. People don't understand that either. They live in an environment. They have to get away. They're abused and they really think they can come to New York. They're going to be smart and okay. And within 24 hours, they are trafficked. That's
mhm.
just because their brains are not developed and they don't understand when somebody's nice and says, hey, I'll buy you a hamburger. Oh, you need a place to sleep? Oh, I know a place. It just costs you $5. And then they're thrown into a truck and driven off to Ohio because these are the scenarios that are happening. So, how is a society? There's a lot here. I like to say, Bella, it's a wheel with a lot of spokes, all these issues, and it's going around crazy. But we got to stay focused. We got to stay on top of it. And we got to be warriors.
Yeah, I think we have to sort of help yes to everything. I think as adults, we have to sort of rewind a little bit, and meaning that we have to change our concept of our responsibilities in society.
Yeah.
If so, we have to rewind our thoughts. Like instead of "that's not my kid," I'm trying to mind my business. That's not my kid. That's not my business. Mines are safe. Mines are at home, right? Because yours might interact with these ones online, or somehow kids are going to find kids, just like adults interact with each other. Kids are going to interact with each other. So we have to rewind and see ourselves as if, just like you, if you're observing, follow it through. Like these days, when I see parents, kids in public with somebody that is not, I'll be like, hey, little one, I'll have a conversation to see how are they interacting with this adult. And if I see that this person is uncomfortable, I'm going to say something. I'm going to call the cops. I'd rather be safe than sorry, right? And so we as adults, we have to pause because we're also on the go. We want the next thing. It's okay, today I have to talk to Lynn. I have to do this. I have to do this. I don't have time to think about what kid is walking past me, but we have to rewind a little bit and say, you know what? let me be mindfully in my environment. Let me be present. Let me be present. And so I think when we do that, then it leads us to sort of watching people and learning how to advocate for kids in our society. But I agree with everything you said.
Good, because I could say a lot more, but we could go on and on and on. Give us some final words. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share with our warriors?
Warriors, I just want to say thank you for being warriors. Thank you for what you're doing in your respective communities in New York, around the world. Thank you for I think this conversation alone, we're 1 point ahead of traffickers because they hate when we come together and have a conversation.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that warriors, no pressure, but the future of these kids is in your hands. Some of us are tired in the movement, but I'm relying on you to carry the conversation. Share this video with people you know so that they can learn more. Comment on things that you want to hear back from, and so that maybe Lynn can talk to you all about it. But overall, I just want to say thank you for your time, and thank you for what you're doing in your community.
I love that. I couldn't have said that better. But that's the idea of the warriors. It snowballs. You know, this video will be shared. The goal, Bella, for the warriors is one person a day. That's our goal. That we help one, or one is educated, or one gets a resource, or one child. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But it snowballs, and then that person helps one. I really believe, Bella, that's working, because I get feedback. And in the grand scale of things, doesn't seem like a lot, but you know what? It is tremendous success in my book, in our Warriors book, because that's what it's about. Somebody waking up, doing something, taking care of something, or getting the help they need. So I'm just so thrilled because, Bella, you are such an incredible warrior, and sharing your voice and expertise helps me be a better warrior. And I hope we will definitely, I'll have all your information in the body of the video for everybody to read and see what you do. I mean, I know you give speeches. I know you talk to everybody. I know you consult. You can help groups and organizations. You do it all. But I really want everybody to especially listen to what you have to say. Because I have to say, Bella, I don't hear talk like this coming from anybody. I really don't. I talk to a lot of people. And we got to be straight with people. We got to talk truth, facts, reality. And we must take action, because I really believe not only do we have a global crisis right here in America, we have an American crisis right now. So let's just deal
I
with it.
believe it.
We really do. And it's all connected globally, but it's happening in front of us. You know, we all talk about that. Let's change it up. And it starts right here with you, Bella, on the Warriors. So thank you. You're helping us create tremendous change. Promise me we will speak again soon, because there's so many issues we didn't even get to speak about that I definitely want to speak to you again about. And I just want to tell you, you are wonderful. Thank you so much for joining the Warriors today. And Bella, we will speak again soon.
Thank you.